HP.
All advice given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Well, hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here. Hey, I got Rob Culling on the line. Rob, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing, Carl?
Good, good. Were you working today?
Yeah, I got in the office around noon, started to do a little work here and there.
See, now people think that the life of a lawyer is a life of luxury, of, golfing, and I heard you shot a really nice round of 9 holes the other day.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad at all.
But, on the other hand, you do have to sometimes work on a Saturday afternoon. So,
absolutely.
What's new and exciting? Any kind of good cases going on? Anything interesting?
Actually got a couple. It seems battles with PennDOT never seem to end. I have 2 license suspension appeals that I'm doing for a couple folks. One involved a DUI. We pled him to what's called a general impairment, first offense, so there should be no license consequence to it. But I guess PennDOT got something from the court saying that we're going to suspend your license now because of this. And we come back and say, no, that's not how that works. There is no license consequence. And I'm having a battle with the court administrator and PennDOT, and they seem to be blaming each other for it. So that's pretty funny. The other case is a kid. He was underage, and he had a speeding ticket of over 26. So automatically PennDOT sets up what's called a departmental hearing to see whether they should suspend a license, whether they should make him take his test again, make him do some type of highway class. But it turned out that they waited 2 years, 2.5 years almost, to do anything.
Right.
And he's going to be starting a job. He's going to be, going back to school here. And he's like, look, why I would have served my 15 days, 2 years ago, but now, this is different. So, I think you told me a little bit about what's called latches, where, the delay caused some type of prejudice to our client. And then the other thing is, the person who did the hearing told our client that the suspension was mandatory. And, of course, we're going to argue that's the abuse of discretion there because there's actually choices they have. They didn't have to suspend it. So that's going to be pretty fun coming up.
Yeah, that is interesting. Let's take some calls. 540-0580. Elmer, you're on with Carl and Rob.
Hello.
Hey, Elmer, what's going on?
Yeah, how you doing, Carl? I always had full torque on my car insurance policy ever since they started it in Pennsylvania. But I retired, and of course money got tight, so I decided to trim back some of the stuff on my insurance policy, and I took the full torque off. Was that a smart move, or was it not?
Well, I believe the full torque is always the better option to have. Rob, you agree with that?
Absolutely. Always get full torque. It might cost you, $100 a year, but you want to save that chance in case you get seriously injured. You need to be able to recover for those.
And I think the big issue sometimes also happens, and this is an interesting one. Let's say your car gets damaged. We've noticed that when your car is damaged, but you don't have a major personal injury claim, they will tend to nickel and dime you on the value of your car because they figure if you come running to a lawyer and the lawyer finds out you're limited tort, they won't be very interested in the case. So sometimes it hurts you all around.
Yeah. Another thing that I had on my policy, I don't know if all states have it, but Pennsylvania does, where you could get this loss of wages thing on your insurance policy. Like, what does that detail? What does that do for you?
Well, the lost wages is if you have a job and you're unable to work, then you're going to get wages. So if you don't have disability insurance through your employer, it's basically a way of getting disability insurance. So should you be in an auto accident?
Yeah. Well, the union had sent us a letter one time and said sign up for that because it's well worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did, but then my insurance lady said, well, now since you're retired, you might as well drop that off.
Yeah, if you're retired, there's nothing to replace the wage for.
But on the full torque thing, even though I'm retired, I mean, I only get my Social Security check and my retirement.
Right.
Would I still I would be better off getting
You'd be better off if you're injured to recover more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I'll have to call them there and put that back on there because when I heard you talking about it, it kind of scared me.
Yeah. Well, it's a good idea to have it. Also, make sure you have uninsured, underinsured. Don't waive that down to zero either.
Yeah.
That's the coverage that protects you if somebody else doesn't have insurance and hits you or doesn't have enough insurance.
Well, I think they're supposed to have insurance in Pennsylvania, aren't they?
They're supposed to, but I think 1 in 5 doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how in the heck do they get their tags? Because
they get their tag and then it expires. They pay for a month worth of insurance. But my point is, just be prepared that if you get hit by somebody with no insurance, then you want to have that uninsured, underinsured. Or let's say they only have a $15,000 policy, but they do $50,000 worth of damage to you. And still $35,000 light. Yeah, well, I'm going to call them on Monday and get that switched around there because I didn't realize quite how that worked. You know what I mean? So, because the insurance lady said, well, you could save money by going down to limited torque. You know what I mean? I said, well, okay, go ahead. But since I took the full torque off, now I'm kind of scared about that.
Yeah, and like I said, again, you might save $100 for the year, but if you're laid up in bed for 3 months with serious injuries, and if you have a limited torque, you might not see anything out of that. So it's a good way to protect yourself there.
Yeah, sure is. Hey, I really enjoy your show.
Hey, thank you, Elmer.
I listen to you every Saturday. So Carl.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You take care, my friend.
Mm-hmm, bye.
540-0580. Bill, you're on with Carl and Robert Culling.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a guy call just a little bit ago that his daughter was in that accident and the police wouldn't come out to investigate it?
Yes.
Okay, they don't have to come out to investigate an accident. The only way the state law requires...
We lose you. Did we lose him? We lost him. He's about to tell us something. I think he's about to tell us the only way state law requires if it's a reportable accident, I have a feeling. And if the cars can leave under their own power without serious danger, it's probably not a reportable accident. So that's probably what he's going to tell us. All right. Well, we'll see if he calls back. Stuart, you're on with Robert Culling, Carl Rominger.
Hello?
Yep. What's going on?
Sorry, I didn't hear my name. I have a question maybe well outside your area of expertise, but I'd like to know how I can hire an attorney in England.
Okay.
Made a grand mistake. Checked out a dealer in England. Uh-huh. Everything was fine. Purchased an item for £2,750. It arrived. It was damaged. He informed me that the shipping company, it was insured through the shipping company, and I should start a claim. I called the shipping company. He informs me that I was not the one to start a claim, and second of all, it was not insured because this company does not insure antiques. Upon inspection by 2 different experts and photographic inspection, the item was damaged before it was shipped because it had been repaired, not stated. Now the individual just says, well, send it back. Well, once he has it back, there's nothing that will keep him from transferring the funds back to my account.
There are escrow agents out there who will, there's on a third-party people on the web, which would allow him to pay the money into them, and then when the item gets to him and there's proof of shipping, they release the funds to you.
Okay, and where I would find them on the web?
Yeah, I think if you go to eBay and look at dispute resolution escrow agents, you may be able to point in the right direction. But I know there's companies out there that do this for online transactions precisely because of this problem, the dilemma of if I send the merchandise back, how do I know I'm getting my money? And they're like an escrow agent, and you're looking for a reputable one. Off the top of my head, I don't know the name of any. The next step, though, would be, for instance, to hire counsel over there. But, again, that's going to be probably, I don't know how many pounds or shillings or pences they're going to want.
£750 amounts to about $6,000.
Yeah.
Well, not quite, but...
so you've got a decent amount of money tied up in this situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I would start by searching for escrow agents, I would say for online returns,
Well, the gentleman no longer answers any emails. And basically, I'm afraid he's going to have to be forced to acknowledge anything.
Right.
Not sure how that is done or how that can be done, short of going to England, which I'm just ticked off enough to do, but probably would get myself in more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, and you can't take a gun on the plane, so. Long and short of it, I would just, if you're going to try to find a lawyer over there, the easiest way to do that would be to contact, and see here I have to start from, where would you even start? Well, I guess you have to figure out what jurisdiction you're looking for a lawyer in.
Right, Kent would be the
yeah.
problem.
So I don't know if they have an inn of court over there or a bar association that you could contact in the Kent area, which would basically be the same way I would tell somebody, I'm in trouble in Tulsa and I have no idea where to go. I would say, well, we don't know anybody in Tulsa, so call the Tulsa County Courthouse and ask them who the local bar referral agency is, and they will point you to the Bar Association's referral service, who will then point you to a lawyer who practices in that area. I would imagine the Brits have something similar. So I would start
check with the British Embassy. It's entirely possible, I suppose.
Yeah, and start there and say, I'm looking for, or just contact the court that services Kent and ask if they have any lawyer referral services.
All right.
And they'll walk you into that process. Now, of course, I'm trying to think, but over there you have a difference too. You have barristers and lawyers, so the system's a little bit different. So honestly, I've never had to retain anybody in England. So.
This is on my list of things never to do again. This is growing by leaps and bounds as I get older.
I know. But sometimes you can find some neat stuff online too.
Absolutely. And I did check this individual out, and he had a good reputation, but I have no idea what his problem is now. But
yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, I always tell people this. It is good to check people out and not do things totally in the blind. But even if somebody has a stellar reputation, you never know if you're going to be their first catastrophe.
Absolutely not.
All right, my friend. I got to go to break. Shane's yelling at me.
Thank you much. I appreciate it.
All right, bye. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580, taking the calls from our callers. Dale, how are you? Dale?
Hello. Hi, Carl.
Hey, question on continuances?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How many times can a lawyer ask for a continuance?
As many times as he wants. The question is, how many times will the judge grant them? And unfortunately, as you and I know, many times the judge will give a couple of them away for free, right?
Yeah.
So, anyhow, my friend, what else you want to know?
Well, without getting too personal, that was the main thing. I was just worried about that because I don't want to get...
I wouldn't think too many more.
Yeah.
All right, brother?
Thanks.
All right. Yeah, Dale's not a client, I swear. Randy, you're on the air. What's going on, Randy?
Oh, hi. I have a house in Virginia, and my neighbor surrounds me. He has about 8 acres on one side where his house is and 2 acres on the other side. Initially, I think he split the properties. His wife had the 5 acres that I'm on, and they built a house on it, and then he divorced her, or she divorced him, whatever. I bought the property from her. She couldn't afford the mortgage, and the road comes in off of his 2-acre piece onto my property. That's my only access to my house. And he's been threatening to take that away from me.
Okay.
I have permanent, right away in my deed, which was transferred from her deed, and I'm wondering how feasible it is for him to take that away from me.
He really can't take that away from you if you have it deeded to you, and if he blocks it, we can get an injunction.
Okay, because just once last year and once this year, if I go up there and mow the grass near his house, which is mine, he gets all upset, and, he's threatening to do stuff to me,
Yeah. Well,
I called the police last week, I was like, what the heck?
My only other caveat for you is even though it's deeded and it's described, be sure and defend it if he blocks it, because there's another theory that, if he blocks it long enough, he maybe will argue that you've abandoned your rights in it.
Well, that's why I started mowing my grass up there all the time, because he kept coming down and mowing my grass in the front.
Right.
And I was concerned about him trying to take that away from me, because he's really mad about giving up that 5 acres to her at one time.
Well.
And I told him last year, I says, it's nothing to do with me.
Right.
You know, that's an issue between you and her, you know, and we got into it last week when I was down there mowing the grass. And, you know, my actions are endangering his children, which weren't even there, you know.
Oh, my gosh, endangering the children with the lawnmower.
Yeah. You know, and I just wonder, because I made sure and I checked the deed, and it is deeded to me as far as permanent right-of-way. And he's never going to do anything with that 2 acres.
Right.
And if I had to put a road in there, I mean, I've got 3 drain areas to cross over, which would be, you know, quite difficult. I don't know how the county would even do with that, because the road that is in there only crosses the one.
Right, right.
And like Carl said, make sure you protect yourself on this. Make sure you're always checking up on it. If he blocks it, make sure you get to a lawyer. Maybe we can do something about it.
Well, I think we absolutely can do something about it. The question is you know, how aggressive do you want to be? And the short answer is also you want to tame the neighbor, because sometimes things can escalate. So if he does do something, then sometimes a letter from an attorney and then a little litigation will slow him down.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if I should start something, because that's what he threatened to do was block that road.
Well, make him go first.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Why waste money on me when you can make him go first?
Yeah, that's, you know, I figured, well, he might just find out himself that there's nothing he can really do.
Yeah, you know, and these are sometimes in cases like this, and I've said this to clients before, I've even said this to other lawyers, sometimes when you have a case, you want the other party to just go talk to a lawyer. Now, you hope they talk to a rational lawyer and a reasonable lawyer and one that knows the law that they're talking about, because there are a few yahoos out there that might give them some bad advice. But for the most part, you know, sometimes the other party, sometimes people are like, well, I don't want my husband to get a lawyer. I don't want that guy to get a lawyer. And be, no, you want them to get a lawyer, because the lawyer's going to tell them what I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I thank you very much.
All right, my friend, take care.
All right.
540-0580. Oh, Joe, you're on the air.
After 1/2 mile, turn left.
Joe, navigating somewhere.
Hi, Carl.
What's going on?
I wrote into your website previously in the week. In 2005 and 6, I had an EEO case against the Navy.
Uh-huh.
And I had an attorney from Harrisburg who I think misrepresented me. And the Navy had...
turn left, Warnhill Road.
Excuse me.
To have reached your destination.
The attorney advised me not to accept their offer
Right.
of settlement, to hold out for more. In other words, they were going to make me whole.
Mm-hmm.
And he advised me to hold out for more. And, of course, it went to an administrative law judge who ruled in favor of the Navy, and I lost out on everything.
Gotcha.
I should have accepted everything in hindsight at the point where they were going to make me whole.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I got a 3-day suspension, lost pay, and kind of ruined my career for the future. I took an early retirement, etc.
So when did you realize that this was a bad deal?
Well, I've been thinking about it recently, in the past month, and it's really gotten under my skin.
You have a 2-year statute of limitations for malpractice.
Okay, so I'm done.
Yeah, you're cooked there. I mean, I guess you could still do an ethical thing on it, although it's pretty stale in that regard. So, and then, of course, the other problem is that then the merits of, was it good advice or bad advice? You know, I lost a trial recently, and I think it was good advice to take a trial. But after you lose it, you always figure, well, maybe I should have done something different, right?
Right.
And that's the problem with litigation is, you know, once the chips fall where they may, so to speak, it's always hard to put the Eggman back together again. And so you can't really go backwards, but maybe on a different day or a different judge, you would have got a different result. And so the question is, on a settlement offer like that and turning it down, is would a reasonably prudent lawyer have advised you of it, and did you have informed consent? In other words, did your lawyer say this is a slam dunk absolute winner, you could never ever lose? Or do you say, well, there's a chance you could lose, and give you enough, you know, options? So it's sort of like when the doctor says, here's your operation. Oh yeah, there's a 3% chance you're going to die on the table. As long as he discloses that and makes it clear that there is a 3% chance and you die on the table, it's okay. Well, it's not okay, but it's okay.
Well, I spoke to him on the phone on Friday, and he said he's never had a situation like this, and he advised me to put my request in writing. And I said, if you pay me back attorney fees and compound interest for the monies I paid him, I'll walk away, other than pursuing anything.
Right.
He said, put it in writing, and he's never had a situation like this.
Yeah, well, put your demand in writing. I mean, just because statute of limitations passed doesn't mean he can't decide that he thinks he goofed up and pay you money.
Well, he had offered to go take my case further after the judge had ruled, saying that Navy had made a mistake, and he really felt bad about it. And then when he found out that I had taken it also to the union, he washed his hands of it.
Ah, interesting. Well, my friend, that's the best advice I can give you for today.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Take care. Enjoy your rest of your weekend.
Thank you. Do the same.
540-0580. Before we go to break, we'll talk to TJ.
Good afternoon, Carl Rominger.
What's going on?
Plenty, and I do have the question. Do you or your practice deal with wrongful termination lawsuits from, when a person gets wrongly terminated by their employer?
We have, particularly Drew Deo in the office has done quite a bit of that work.
Okay, and it usually involves, my situation involves where, somebody and a few others decided to accuse me, slander and accuse me of something I did not do, but obviously HR and the company all sided with them, considering that they were dirty-mouthed and dishonest and gossipers, and got me, a good employee, screwed.
Here's the next question, though, and just keep this in the back of your head. Wrongful termination in Pennsylvania is pretty much, it's an at-will state, so they can fire you for all the wrong reasons if they want.
Yeah, but this was slander, and I don't care. I think, not just employer, but I think even the one person who, got this false accusation against me, I personally like to see her put on the ringer.
Well, right, and here, let me just make sure you understand that your exclusive remedy against your employer, unless you can prove that you were, discriminated against under one of the protected...
This wasn't discrimination. This was favoritism.
You understand? I mean, because you're a protected class. Then you would have some...
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. In this day and age, the white straight man like me, or should I say white straight Christian man like me, I refound my faith in all this disaster. I believe God really strengthened me through this disaster. But like I said, we're the ones that are victims in this day and age. Women, minorities, they all get protected, but the white man gets to the end of the rear every time.
All right. Wait, Job, slow down here. Wait, what I'm going to tell you, though, is this. I'm just trying to say is, so our remedies may be limited against the employer to unemployment or certain other things.
Oh, and I'll fight those bastards.
Did you apply for unemployment yet?
Oh, yes, I did, and I filed and I explained my side of what happened.
If you get denied unemployment by the hearing review, by the written order, file the appeal. We're happy to help you with that. Number two is slander lawsuits can certainly be brought. The next question is whether you can actually get any blood out of the turnip. And so if the
I knew you were going to go there. That's why I'm glad I'm calling and asking you, because you have an excellent show. I try to hear every weekend when I can.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big issue. So that's something else we'd investigate before we would let you devote your precious resources to that. Particularly if you don't have a job, you don't want to be spending extra money that you don't get back.
That's very true. Unless I found someone that could do pro bono, or unless I won the lottery, then I'd be like.
If you win the lottery, I've got you back all the way.
Power under my belt, and I would use it on these bastards. A big heartless corporation would screw an honest man like me. Hey, Jesus Christ got crucified on a Good Friday centuries ago. On this Good Friday, May 4th, 2012, another good man named Mr. TJ got crucified for the wrong reasons, and he was innocent.
All right, TJ, brother.
Justice will prevail under God's law. Amen, hallelujah. God bless you.
Talk to you later. I love it. 540-0580. I got to get a break. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here, answering your legal questions, 540-0580. And who we got next up here? Well, I've got a few on the caller board, but let me go to Facebook here for a second. As you guys know, if you become a Facebook friend of mine, you can post... oh, my goodness. You can post on here. And Skipper Bill Beck just posted something really funny about TJ. And yeah, TJ was kind of an interesting character, but he does sound like he has a problem. But the question was from Carol, am I still believing that the Supreme Court of the United States will uphold Obamacare in total or in part? I'm telling you, I think there's a pretty good chance they will, and I keep telling everybody I think John Roberts will be the surprise vote. If it isn't Kennedy that helps uphold it, maybe Roberts, or maybe Roberts and Kennedy upholding it. On the other hand, if they invalidate it, the next question is whether they invalidate the whole law or just the individual mandate. I think just doing the individual mandate would force Congress to revisit it. So it probably is the least amount of violence they would need to do to the law to cause Congress to revisit it. Also, interestingly, if it's revisited, what are they going to do, and how are they going to be able to get enough votes on each side of the fence to straighten things out? So maybe you just scrap the whole thing and put them back to where we were before it was passed. And, of course, in the meantime, all these agencies and bureaucracies have moved to implement it already, and a lot of states have lined up for it already. So it's going to be a huge re-entrenchment. The next question is, what about the other issues in it, like, the Indian Care Act and Medicare expansion, et cetera, et cetera. Also, if they find that was coercive on the states, that'll be the first time that they've found a coercive, free federal money coercive. So that's an interesting question as well. But anyhow, I think there's a very good chance that the Supreme Court will uphold Obamacare because of the deference it gives Congress and the fact that the very people who argued it for and in opposition to it all agreed that Congress could do universal health care as they did an individual mandate, just not under the Commerce Clause. So interesting, right? And by the way, you mandatorily have to participate in Social Security and Medicare, so it's not a new concept. 540-0580. Ted, you're on the air. Hey, Ted.
Hi. Got a question for you. I was named after my uncle, and I was given $1,000 when I was born from my aunt. And my parents put it into a CD in Commonwealth National Bank in Mechanicsburg. I wasn't allowed to touch it until I was 18 or went to college, or 21 and went to college. Well, I joined the Marine Corps and went away, came back. In 98, I went to go cash that CD, and they said that the bank switched over 7 times, and they had no proof that it was cashed, and they had no proof that it wasn't cashed. But I still have the CD, like the check itself.
Right.
And I've looked into this, and I've had everybody says there's really nothing I can do, but I think it's. Can you recommend anything for me?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's interesting. You have a certificate of deposit that it might be valid, right?
Yes, it is.
And so somebody owes you money on it.
Correct.
And so the question is who? And so I guess if you trace the successor and interest, you might want to just sue the bank.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it was like 11.7% interest, and, I mean, would they have to continue that interest?
It depends on the terms of the CD and how it renewed, but I have a feeling that, no, they got out of that interest. There was the Dolphin Deposit Bank years ago in Carlisle who had guaranteed 10% for life on some kind of deposit. And there was a big class action suit a while back because they tried to get out of paying the 10% interest on these certificates that they had issued because people had... it was for life, it said.
Wow.
And obviously nobody was cashing them because there was nowhere in the world where you could get 10% interest in the bank when the rates were down to like 4%. Of course, now they're down to like, negative 2%.
Is there a direction you can...
I would sit down and talk with a lawyer and go from that direction. Now, how much money are we talking about was originally in the certificate of deposit?
$1,000.
Okay.
That was back in 1981.
So it might be worth $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 now.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe you find a lawyer who's willing to split it with you.
Is that something that you would do?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a call then.
All right, 241-6070. 241-6070 is the office number. Of course, just look us up on the web. Go to RomingerLaw.com.
Great, thank you.
All right, take care, man.
Bye.
I like it. Those are always interesting ones. 540-0580. Mark, you've been holding patiently. What's going on, my friend? Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing, Counselor? Thanks for your service on the radio. We appreciate it. My call is concerning my son, who will be 22 here in about another month. Back when he was 20, he got an underage drinking citation, and he did not have a license at the time. He was still in the permit process, late bloomer, obviously. Anyway, I'm sure you heard the story. Now he goes to get insurance, and he gets hammered on the suspension of the permit, not a license. It wasn't a license at the time. That's a whole other ball of wax, getting that straightened out. But, he's licensed now, but he's paying a pretty high insurance rate because of that suspension. Now, I understand, is it possible he can just have a letter written to expunge that? Is that generally a pretty easy process to go through?
So, he had the one underage drinking.
That's it.
That's it. And is he over 21 now?
He'll be 22 in August.
Yeah, then he's entitled, I believe, to an automatic expungement of that. He just has to file the necessary paperwork. Generally, a lawyer can do that. You're looking at about $400.
Okay. Because that's about half lawyer and half paperwork.
Yeah.
I think it'll be worth it in the long run.
It's always a great idea in the long run because the less stuff that people can see in your record, the better.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a holler, get on the website, whatever, and have you guys handle that for me.
All right, Mark. Happy to take care of it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for holding. Mike, you're on the air.
Carl?
Yep.
Hey, I got a question for you regarding a court order.
Yes.
My daughter and her husband separated for about a year, and he hasn't been in the house because of a domestic incident. They bought the house together, but his name's only in the deed. So back in February, he went to court, and she got a thing that said she had 30 days to vacate the premise. Now, they do have a 3-year-old that lives with her. Mm-hmm. So to make a long story short, she appealed it. They said, well, and in the court order, they said you had to the end of May to get out. That's what the court order after she appealed it. She has a couple things in the works, but the end of May is almost here.
Right.
What's going to happen if she's not out by the end of May?
Well, theoretically, the constable can evict her, but is she filing an appeal with the Prothonotary's office?
Well, she filed an appeal on this court order. I helped her. They went to a hearing. It was like 2 months later. I mean, he did it in January. I think it was early. Middle of February, came in and said, well, the judge ruled, or I wasn't there, but that they ruled on a court order and gave her some time, and said, you have to vacate the premises. I mean, it's really her house, too, but he was smart putting it only in his name, but that's beyond the fact now.
What I would recommend she does is contact one of the Salvation Army would be a good point of contact, and I'll tell you why. They will have... There are crisis folks out there who do emergency housing for people, particularly with children and infant children, and they will have a place to place her while she looks for something.
Yeah, but I mean, I told her technically June 1st, if he calls, the sheriff can come there, and you gotta leave. I said, you appealed it. That was a decision. There's no more appeal. That's the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, we're now at the point where we're out of time.
Right, that's what I told her.
But I would strongly recommend she start with the Salvation Army because they will maintain a list. I was at a seminar put on by Carpoa, which is a group of property owners. And anyhow, they brought in the folks, and there's a bunch of resources out there for people in these situations.
Well, she wants to try to stay a little longer. I said the only thing you can do is kiss his rear end, and maybe he'll...
Well, yeah, and you know what? Then that's not really going anywhere either.
Pardon?
That's not going to go anywhere either. That's just
no, it's just going to bite her some time.
Yeah.
I said basically, he called June 1st, and I don't know if they show up and say you got to leave the premises immediately.
Once the constable starts, he has to post and then give her, I think, 20-some days.
Oh, I see.
So it's a 2-step process, but she really needs to have a plan because that day will come and they will push her out into the lawn.
Well, she knows that. She had enough time. And,
then I said, she has a couple somebody's real clever, they'll call children and youth on her, too, and say she doesn't have adequate housing for her kid.
Well, I told her that. If you don't have a roof over your head, well, we have family and everything like that, but we're trying to get it that she gets in a place of her own. She's been out on her own then, But I wanted to make sure that because I'm telling her at the end of May, if he decides to call and, enforce that thing, they're just going to show up at your door and say, you're gone, get your stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Carl.
Take care. 540-0580. When we get back from break, we'll talk with Rose. I think they're going to have to get a judge or a lie detector or something in the PGA. They have some fans fighting over Tiger Woods' ball where one fan said they saw it fall straight down and then disappear, and somebody else said they never saw it fall down. Hundreds of people, nobody can find a ball. They gave Woods a drop, and I think he parred out that hole. But he didn't make the cut, so it didn't become such a big deal. But there seemed to be some controversy because then another fan came forward and said there never was a ball in the area. And they said, had he gone on to win it, that would have created an interesting little issue. But he didn't do anything wrong. But apparently the fans had some disagreements. And, of course, golf has a very neat set of rules, and I really do enjoy. In fact, if somebody ever wants to call with some golf rule questions, we can probably try to field those as well. I do like to carry the rule book with me when I go and annoy my buddies by harassing them when I find them violating a rule or cleverly using a rule to my advantage, because I'm not very good at golf otherwise. But anyhow, it is interesting because they say that if the ball, if it's almost certain or it has to have been that somebody took the ball, then you're entitled to a drop. So anybody who golfs, if you've ever been out there, and you go, I saw my ball fall right here. I am sure that I saw 3 kids walking up the fairway, coming in the other direction, come under the trees and out into my fairway, and I'm sure they picked up my ball. If you're right, I mean, if you're absolutely certain or almost certain beyond doubt there that one of the outside agencies removed your ball, i.e. the other golfers, then you get a free drop. But that's subject to some harassment. But in this case, the rule, I say some harassment, some abuse, I should say, and some harassment from your friends. But in this case, the rules official gave Woods the drop. So anyhow, we can talk golf rules sometime. In fact, maybe I'll do a golf rules show, Shane. We can do it. We can call them when you get your golf rulings. We'll get the book out. 540-0580. Rose, you're on the air.
Hello, Carl.
Yes.
I have a problem. A credit company calls me and has threatened to bring legal action against me, and the same credit company calls my brother to find out, my number.
Oh, we think she might be dead. We have important information for her. Right, one of those calls.
Right, and they have also, I think, maybe they put, I don't know for sure, but maybe they put this debt that I supposedly owe them on my credit report.
Right.
But here's the facts. About 2 years ago, 2 men representatives from a home security system came through Lancaster. It's out of state. It's an out-of-state company installing home security. And they came in my neighborhood, and a neighbor and I, we had the home security system put in.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid a monthly bill for about 2 years or 2.5 years. And then I found out that they had no permit from the township that I live in to put this security system in, and they needed a permit to do that. See, they got a permit from Lancaster City, and I live 1 block outside of Lancaster City in Lancaster Township, and I don't think they knew they were in Lancaster Township. They probably thought they were still in the city.
Right.
And anyway, they installed this home security system. They never connected it with the police, and I didn't know it wasn't connected with the police. And that if I had used it to call the police, it would have cost me about $300 for the police to come out because I wasn't connected. So when I found this all out, I just had the whole home security system disconnected, put it in a box, and sent it back to them with a letter telling them they installed it illegally without a permit.
Right.
And that I was no longer going to pay this bill, and I didn't want their home security system anymore. And they told me that in the contract, I don't think it was so, that I'm supposed to connect it with the police. But I didn't know that. Nobody told me, so I didn't know that. So they want me to pay for the whole 5 years, and they're asking me to pay $1,800. And I don't think I owe it to them because I don't think they legally installed it. And now they've been selling this debt. The home security system is selling it to credit companies. I think this is the second credit company, and they know, the home security system knows why I sent them their whole system back.
Yeah, interesting. Well,
what can I do? I mean, should I register my complaint and everything with the Attorney General?
You can. The other option, you may be able to sue them under the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. There may be a couple different remedies. I start with the Attorney General, but if they keep harassing you, let us know. Maybe we can write them a letter. Sometimes that works too.
Okay. I mean, I've told this credit company, I said, I'm sorry, you bought a bad debt.
Right.
I mean, you got a bad deal, and the home security company knows what they're selling you.
Right.
Am I within my rights? I mean, it was placed illegally. Was it okay for me to take it out and break? They say I broke my contract with them. Well, I don't think the contract was legal to begin with in the first place. Do you?
Well, the short answer is that's an interesting question. And so if they breached the contract in the first instance, then no. And is it legal? I don't know about the word legal, but if the contract itself didn't allow for, the proper installation, or they didn't do the proper installation, maybe, they're defective on its face. So I don't know. Long story short, though, it seems like if they didn't do what they were supposed to do, you have recourse.
I went to my township, And the supervisor said, in order to put the home security system in that, the company has to have a permit from them, and they didn't.
Oh, yeah, so I mean, there's issues right in the inception.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth challenging.
Okay, so I should write to the Attorney General?
Yes.
And then how else should I deal with the credit
company? What I would recommend is doing that and disputing it with the with both the credit company and the original supplier with the Attorney General's office. And at the same time, if you don't get an effective result within 30 or 60 days, then think about hiring an attorney to write a nasty gram for you.
Okay, and you'll be the one to do that.
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Rose, thank you very much. Bye. 540-0580. Dan, you're on WHP 580 with attorney Carl Rominger. This is Weekend Appointment, answering your legal questions.
Hi, I'm Dan.
Yes.
All right. I live in Harrisburg, and we've lived in this house for 38 years.
Dan, I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to take you after we go off the air here, so don't go anywhere. Guys, I got to go. We'll be back next week from 1 to 3 live. Do I have a guest next week, Shane? So who is that on June 2nd? Okay. Okay, guys, so I'll be back next Saturday from 1 to 3 answering your legal questions. In the meantime, go to RomingerLaw.com to look us up. See you next week.